Good afternoon and welcome to the December 6th work session of the Portsmouth Planning Commission. Mr. Baldwin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, Planning Commissioners. We'll go ahead and get started with our work session presentations. So we'll start off with the two items that were deferred from your November meeting, Z2206 and UP 2216, and Julie Chop will be presenting those.
Good afternoon, Planning Commissioners. I'm Julie Chop, Principal Planner with the City of Portsmouth. This rezoning application is being considered concurrently with a use permit application to develop a shipping container / chassis storage yard. This presentation will focus on both applications. Consideration of the use permit request UP 22-16 is contingent upon approval of the rezoning application Z22-06. As a reminder, due to last month's deferral, these applications will be fast-tracked and heard at next week's December 13th City Council meeting. The rezoning application involves 8 parcels, approximately 1.13 combined acres, located at 2325, 2332, 2410, 2414, 2416, and 2400 Turnpike Road, as well as 2410 and 2434 Spruce Street. These parcels are currently zoned light industrial IL. The proposed development includes the properties at 2404, 2418, 2421 Turnpike Road, as well as 2422, 2424, and 2426 Spruce Street, which are zoned industrial IN. The use permit application involves an additional 7 parcels for a total of 15 properties, which are approximately 2.64 combined acres. The applicant proposes to develop a shipping container / chassis storage yard, which requires a use permit approved by City Council. The subject property is currently vacant and encompassed with an 8-foot chain link fence with barbed wire. Vacant property zoned light industrial is located east of the property across the unimproved right-of-way Spruce Street. Adjacent to the railway line to the west is the parcel that is zoned IL and occupied by a trucking operation. An industrial-scale fueling station, zoned industrial, is located to the north of the site across Turnpike. To the south of the subject area to the rear is a large industrial-zoned material yard that includes several railway lines. The applicant proposes to use the combined properties as a shipping container / chassis storage yard to drop off and pick up of trailer chassis as well as truck parking. The site yard will be graded with crushed asphalt, and an upgraded zoning ordinance compliant fence will be installed surrounding the property. A 0.27 acre BMP stormwater feature is proposed to the southwest area of the site. The applicant has no plans to construct a building on the site, as the business office will be located at another address in Portsmouth. No on-site employees are anticipated as being needed for the operation due to the pickup / drop-off nature of the use. The applicant submitted an alternative parking plan requesting that no off-street parking be required due to the lack of on-site employees and absence of a building. Staff is amenable to the request such that should a building be constructed, associated zoning ordinance compliant parking be installed. This conceptual site plan shown here shows 2 vehicular access points to the site off Turnpike Road. The access to the east of the site will be improved to provide truck access and will include a gate to access. The access to the west will not accommodate truck traffic. The applicant does not have plans to improve Spruce Street at this time. The recommended conditions of the use permit request require that Spruce Street be improved should the applicant decide to use the access in the future. A traffic impact analysis for the development will be required as part of the site plan review process. In order to combine the 8 properties zoned IL and the 7 properties zoned IN through a minor subdivision, the properties that are zoned IL must be rezoned to IN so that all the parcels have the same zoning designation. The industrial zoning district is an appropriate classification for this area. The industrial zoning classification is intended to accommodate heavy manufacturing, fabrication, processing, distribution, storage, research and development, and other industrial uses that may be large-scale or otherwise have extensive exterior movement of vehicles, materials, and goods. Should the proposed shipping container/chassis storage yard use not come to fruition, the IN district will allow a variety of appropriate uses to be developed on the properties. With the recommended conditions, the proposed use is consistent with the surrounding land uses and in line with the city's comprehensive plan. Staff recommends approval of both the proposed rezoning of 8 of the parcels from IL to IN, as well as the proposed use permit for the combined 15 properties for a shipping container/chassis storage yard with the recommended conditions. To my knowledge, no public comments have been received regarding these applications, and this concludes my presentation, and I will now stand by for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Chop. Commissioners, are there any questions of Ms. Chop?
There will not be any repairs made to any containers. It's just strictly going to be parking only, correct?
That is what the staff has been told. I would recommend verifying with the applicant.
Okay. Do you know if they're going to be stacking those containers?
The applicant indicated they will not be stacking.
Okay.
But again, if you wish to
Verify it.
verify with the applicant.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioners, any additional questions? Commissioner Hines?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. So I assume the outstanding issue with the Economic Development Authority has been settled, and this is now ready for us to, I think there was some deeding and things of that nature need to take place.
Yes. The applicant is in the process of purchasing the 3 properties on Turnpike from the EDA.
So this would still be contingent of the sale of that, correct, then at that point?
Yes,
Okay.
essentially.
Okay.
But I think it's pretty well into the process.
Okay,
But yeah.
and then I had the same questions that a fellow commissioner had about the stacking of those containers, so if we can make sure we get clarification on that, that'd be great. Thank you.
If I might add a comment here on the stacking, you may want to place a condition on the use permit to restrict that.
Sure.
Ms. Chop? Hi, I have just one other question. You said that the industrial use, that we're doing the rezoning and the conditional use permit here. So if the conditional use permit, if the chassis yard doesn't work out, it's still going to remain the new zoning, which you said would mitigate other things, but the chassis yard has to be done within, how long would they have to get that use?
So in order for all the properties to be zoned IL, the city council would have to approve the rezoning. And then the use permit application, if that's not approved, the rezoning is still, they can still approve the rezoning.
Okay,
And
so-
not approve the,
Okay.
if you all wish, and if city council wishes.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I answered your
No,
question.
you did.
Okay.
You did, thank you.
All right.
Any additional questions of Ms. Chop? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, we do have a second item for you, UP 22-17, and Amy Mervine will present that one. And that one, we've had quite a bit of public emails and I believe a petition, and that has been provided to all the commissioners.
It has, we have them.
Good afternoon, Planning Commissioners. This is Amy Mervine, Senior Planner with the City of Portsmouth. This application is a request for a use permit for 4 two-family dwellings, also known as duplexes, on the approximately 0.92 acres at 330 Park Manor Road. The subject property is in the Urban Residential UR zoning district. The applicant's proposal is for the entire 1.64 acre parcel to be subdivided into 7 parcels and proposes to construct 4 two-family dwellings and 3 single-family residences. The 3 proposed single-family residences are permitted by right in the UR zoning district and are not part of this use permit request. The property contains a vacant single-family residence with site access from Park Manor Road. The majority of the property is vacant with large vegetation primarily located around the existing structure. The surrounding area is residential uses. To the east and west of the subject property is single-family residential properties zoned UR. Residential single-family dwellings zoned UR are located across Park Manor Road to the south and located across Rexford Road to the north. And if I'm going too fast, just let me know. The proposed two-family structures are 2 stories with front porches and concrete driveways accessed from Park Manor Road. Access walkways from the concrete driveways to the principal entrance are noted on the conceptual site plan. Wood decks and concrete pads are noted at the rear of the structures. Stormwater management facilities are located between the proposed parcels and a stormwater storage basin proposed at the rear of the property. The proposed development meets the minimum off-street parking for each two-family dwelling and meets the required dwelling units per acre of the proposed subdivided parcels. The next following slides show the elevations proposed for the following addresses. The proposed materials consist of vinyl siding and dimensional shingles. The application also proposes a brick-type foundation on the front elevations and parge-type foundation on the side and rear elevations. Per the recommended conditions, no proposed abutting two-family dwellings shall be constructed exactly the same. The property is designated on the future land use map of the comprehensive plan for low to medium density single-family development. Staff recommends approval of the applicant's use permit request with the recommended conditions. With the conditions, the proposed use is consistent with the recommendations of the city's comprehensive plan, is appropriate in this location, and is compatible with the surrounding area. Staff has received public comments regarding the application and have been submitted to the commissioners. I will now stand by for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Mervine. Commissioners, any questions of Ms. Mervine?
Yes, sir. Amy, I've got a couple. I'm working off of the plat titled Grading, Drainage, and Utilities. I see that it's noted on here for sidewalks, but nothing that references curbs and gutters. Is that something they plan on installing? Do you know?
Is that during site plan review?
We would address that during site plan. However, typically you do not do curbs and gutters unless there's drainage underneath it. Typically you only do curb and gutter if there's drainage and, already there, pipes for the stuff to go to. So typically they would just do sidewalks.
Okay. Second question, under the conditions, specifically number 7, it references shall install digital video equipment with recording devices. Mm-hmm. Was that kept in there in error, or is that?
That's part of the plan. I'm not sure what the plan's entirely called, but like the safety plan the city wants to start doing. So it doesn't have to be necessarily the video equipment, but like the Ring doorbells would be an example of what, just for security measures.
So the fee simple owners would have to install, or is that something the builder is going to install
builder.
once they construct them?
Yep, that'd be the builder.
Okay. Are there any plans that you're aware of to widen Park Manor Road? Because it's a very narrow road.
Mm-hmm. Not that I know of. Mm-mm.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any additional questions of Ms. Baldwin? Mr. Hines?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Has anybody reached out to the school superintendent or the school board regarding the potential zoning for these potential children? My understanding is they're zoned for Simonsdale Elementary School, and according to the most recent CAFR, it does show that Simonsdale is overpopulated. Has there been any discussion surrounding that by chance?
Not that I know of.
Okay. The other question is I mean, I rode through this neighborhood, I actually know it fairly well, but are there any other pockets in this neighborhood where we have kind of multifamily residents in this general area? Or is this unique to this particular development?
No, I didn't notice any like multifamily in the vicinity. Farther down, there are townhouses.
Right, as you kind of go towards like Elmhurst Lane and
Yep.
things of that nature, but not necessarily in the neighborhood that we're discussing. Okay.
Mr. Hines? There
Yes.
are some townhouses in the back in Sandy Point on the water. There are some
Okay.
townhouses
yeah.
back there.
That's what I-
So while it's unique to the Park Manor Road and within probably a handful of streets either direction, it's not unique to necessarily to the neighborhood. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioners, any additional questions of Ms. Ball?
Yes, I have additional question. In here, based on the zoning for how many dwelling units per acre that you could have, how many, not counting the duplex? I know a duplex is still considered single-family home, but just attached. How many single-family homes detached could this area have?
So they had proposed a subdivision for the 7 parcels, and originally it was for 7 single-family. And then they decided to go that with the subdivided parcels, that they could fit the dwelling units per acre and do the duplexes. So they can do the single-family by right,
Okay, thank you.
7.
Commissioners, any additional questions of Ms.
So they could
Buckline?
actually fit 7 actually by right in the same spot. Am I
Yeah. so I
understanding
can-
that correctly?
I can pull up the conceptual site plan. So this is the proposed subdivision, and if you can see, those are all the parcels that they have submitted the subdivision to me for the single family. But this is in line with the subdivision that was submitted to me, so, and that's what they could fit, just the 7.
I do have additional questions. So the 7 single-family would be permitted by right? We wouldn't be here for anything? This is for the 4 duplex that we're here for?
That's correct.
Okay.
Commissioners, any additional questions of Ms. Mervine? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Baldwin?
I think we'll turn this back over to Ms. Jackson here. We were discussing the nominations for officers at this point.
Ms. Jackson?
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to have our nominations for our elections of officers for the 2023 Planning Commission. Our first office would be the Vice Chair. We are in need of a nomination.
I would like to nominate Donna Coleman if she's willing to accept for the office of Vice Chair.
And I'll second.
Okay. Any more nominations? Okay, we have a nomination of Donna Coleman as the Vice Chair, and by show of hands, all those in favor of Donna Coleman as the Vice Chair for the 2023
You can vote for yourself, too.
Planning Commission? No? Okay.
They need to vote in
Just
the,
vote.
in the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right, we're just nominating.
Yeah.
Okay, we got, okay, so we have Donna Coleman as the candidate for the Vice Chair. Now I need a nomination for the Chairman of the 2023 Planning Commission.
I'd like to nominate Sherry Thaxton for Commissioner, Chairman.
Second?
Okay, any more nominations? Okay, okay. So our slate for the 2023 nomination of officers for the Planning Commission is Donna Coleman as our Vice Chairman and Sherry Thaxton as our Chairman. Thank you.
And just for, the audience that's here, it's not that I did a bad job, it's just that I'm leaving.
Yay. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Baldwin?
Yes, we have one more item. Discuss the Planning Commission's calendar for 2023. Meg Pittenger's going to discuss that.
So during your meeting, you're going to be adopting the calendar for next year, and you'll just note there's two sort of changes on there from the normal schedule. The January meeting will not be on the first Tuesday because
Right.
there's a conflict with the City Council reorganization meeting. So by the Planning Commission rules, that'll be moved 2 weeks. And then in July, the first Tuesday is the 4th of July, which is a holiday. So just wanted to make sure that the commissioners made note of that for their personal schedules and for the public, that those two are different from the normal schedule.
Commissioners, any questions, comments? Thank you, ma'am. Madam Secretary? Mr. Baldwin?
That's all we have, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioners, anything else that we need to discuss during this work session? If not, the work session is concluded. We will convene at 1:30 here in the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you all to this very important meeting today, Tuesday, December 6, 2022, being held in the City Council chambers. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I will now confirm that all members of the Planning Commission are present by calling the roll. Commissioners, when I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Thaxton,
Present.
Commissioner Coleman,
Here.
Commissioner Page, Commissioner Barnes, Commissioner Curry, Commissioner Hines.
Present.
4 members of the Planning Commission are present.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Commissioners, before you are the minutes of the November 1st, 2022 public hearing. If there aren't any changes, we will need of a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the November the 1st, 2022 Planning Commission. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Thaxton?
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman?
Yes.
Commissioner Hines?
Yes.
This item is approved by a vote of 4-0. The minutes due announcements of future meetings and conferences. Due to the reorganizational meeting with City Council, our next scheduled work session is Tuesday, January the 17th, 2022 at 12:30 p.m. City Council Chamber, followed by public hearing at 1:30 p.m. City Council Chamber. For these items only, Z 2206 and UP 2216 will be presented to City Council for action at their December the 13th, 2022 public hearing or as otherwise noted. Planning Commission rules limit a speaker up to 5 minutes to speak. We also ask that everyone please silence your cell phones at this time if you have not already done so. The first item deferred from the November the 1st, 2022 meeting, Z 22-06 Turnpike Road. Bobby Wilson of LBC Transportation LLC requests to rezone approximately 0.95 combined acres at 2325, 2332, and 2400 Turnpike Road, as well as 2410 and 2434 Spruce Street from Light Industrial IL to Industrial IN to allow for a minor subdivision to combine the properties with surrounding properties. The applicant is concurrently requesting a use permit for a shipping container chassis storage yard, UP 22-16. The future land use map of the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates these properties as part of a mixed-use corridor. The properties are owned by LBC Transportation LLC and are further described as tax map 175, parcels 13, 14, 15, and 3, as well as tax map 183, parcel 13. The staff coordinator is Julie Chop. And along with UP-22-16 Turnpike Road, Bobby Wilson of LBC Transportation LLC requests a use permit for a shipping container chassis storage yard on approximately 2.46 combined acres located at 2325, 2332, 2400, 2404, 2418, and 2421 Turnpike Road, as well as 2410, 2420, 2422, 2426. Zoning light industrial, IL and industrial IN. The applicant is concurrently requesting a rezoning of the properties that are zoned IL and IN in order to combine all of the parcels through a minor subdivision Z-22-06. The future land use map of the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates these properties as part of a mixed-use corridor. The properties are owned by LBC Transportation LLC, as well as Stephen C. Williams and Alexis Smith, and are further described as tax map 175, parcels 13, 14, 15, 17, 22, 18, and 3, as well as tax map 183, parcels 17, 13, 14, 15, and 16. The staff coordinator is Julie Chop. And will the applicant or representative for this application please come forward and present your applications at this time?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As you can see, it's a lot of work been going into this, right? A lot of different parcels and properties, total of 15. So I'm here for rezoning and use permit to bring all 15 into one IN parcel. We have different, there are total of different companies, let's say across the street, on left side, on the right side of Turnpike Road, and also evoking properties in the rear. And also, let's make sure I'm getting this together. Excuse me, this is my first time doing this, so I'm extremely nervous. Yes, and so to bring all properties into one, and also my name is Bobby Wilson first. I'm the owner of LBC Transportation, and I'm here for Planning Commission to approve or submit it to City Council that these parcels be rezoned and use permit be given to LBC Transportation. Thank you.
Commissioners, are there any questions of Mr. Wilson?
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Will there be any repairs conducted on any, say, damaged containers there?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And how high do you plan on stacking the containers and the chassis?
One high. I'm not stacking. We're not stacking containers on the yard. No stacking.
None at
containers.
all?
Just parking the trailers.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
One more question.
Yes.
Do they typically come in one or two at a time, or as a large group?
One or two at a time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Commissioners, any additional questions of Mr. Wilson? Mr. Hines? Okay.
I do. Hi,
Ms.
Mr.
Coleman.
Wilson. I just wanted to know if a condition were imposed on this for no stacking, considering that you are not planning on stacking, that would not be detrimental to your business, correct?
No,
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
all for it.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any additional questions of Mr. Wilson? Thank you, sir.
All right.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item Z-22-06 and UP-22-16. I have no registered speakers. If there's someone here who would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Commissioners, is there any further discussion?
Yes,
Chair-
Mr. Chairman. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see. I would like to add a condition to limit the stacking of the chassis or the containers to no more than 2.
Okay. Any additional,
Actually, I was going to make that condition 1, but 2, I just wanted to take a moment of privilege to thank the applicant for moving through all these different processes and for investing in our city. So I do want to thank you for that.
any additional questions or comments? Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We actually need a motion for the first item, which is Z-22-06. Mr.
Commissioners,
Chairman.
the chair's in need of a motion and a second.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Z-22-06 with a condition for no stacking of trailers or chassis, containers or chassis, no stacking.
Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, recognize the name.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask for a clarification?
Yes.
Yes.
So we had a condition that was for stacking of no more than 2. Is that a modification, Ms. Coleman, for that?
So, Ms. Coleman, are you saying no stacking because the initial thing was stacking of 2?
I should have waited until UP 2216.
Okay.
I believe that's the,
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as a point of clarification, cannot attach a condition to the rezoning. That would be reserved for the use permit.
Right.
Okay. So
So,
we're still on the rezoning.
I'm sorry?
We're on the rezoning.
Yes, we're on the rezoning of Z-22-06. The chair's in need of a motion.
I make a motion to approve Z-22-06.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, we have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motioned and a second to approve Z-22-06. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Thaxton,
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman,
Yes.
Commissioner Hines.
Yes.
This item is approved by a vote of 4-0.
Now, Commissioners, the chair's in need of a motion for UP-22-16.
Okay, I'm gonna get this right this time. I would like to make a motion for UP 22-16 with a condition, with the condition stipulated and an additional with no stacking.
So we have a, is there any further discussion?
No.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, we have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motioned and second to approve UP-22-16 with additional conditions. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Thaxton?
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman?
Yes.
Commissioner Hines?
Yes.
This item is approved by a vote of 4-0. Our next item, UP-22-17 Park Manor. Pope Pinewell Builders, LLC, requests a use permit for 6 duplexes on approximately 1.64 acres property at 330 Park Manor Road with a proposed density of 7 dwelling units per acre. The property is currently zoned urban residential UR. The future land use map of the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for single-family residential with low to medium density. The property is owned by Polk Pinewell Builders, LLC, and is further described as Tax Map 644, Parcel 8. The staff coordinator is Amy Mervine. Will the applicant or representative for this application please come forward and present your application at this time?
Members of the Planning Commission, just as a point of clarification again, this request is for 4 duplexes and not 6.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Beck. I'm an engineer working on the site development plans for the project. I know you've all seen the city staff's report. We're constructing dwellings on 7 lots that we're creating by subdivision. We intend for 3 of the dwellings to be single-family and for 4 of them to be 2-family dwellings. We've been through site plan review and gotten approval of a plan to construct 7 houses. And now we're hoping to get a use permit so that we can make 4 of the buildings 2 families and construct, instead of the 7 units that we had originally imagined, 11 units. We're doing that for cost considerations. We've had quite a bit of requirements of infrastructure from the city planning department and public works. The cost is getting up there, and we're trying to keep the project going. We want to build here in Portsmouth, but in order to do that, we're going to have, the ability to build the units that we need to get the profit that we need. So I know you've all seen the site plan. We're proposing parking and driveways in front of the 2-family dwellings. We're here only to consider those 4 lots with the 2-family dwellings. The 3 single-family homes are permitted by right. We will be constructing a stormwater basin to limit the peak outflow rate from the site to pre-developed levels. That is to say that once this...
Sir, could I interrupt you?
Yes,
Could I
sir.
get you to speak into the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you couldn't hear me.
We can hear you.
I'm going to have to duck down a little bit. We're going to be constructing a stormwater basin to restrict the peak outflow rate from the site to pre-development levels. That is to say that once development is completed, the water will leave the site at the same rate that it does now. We will be extending a sewer along Manor Road to serve the houses and utilizing the existing water service. We'll be building a new sidewalk along Manor Road for pedestrian traffic. Our overall density is only going to be 6.7 units per acre, which is much less than the maximum allowed. These lots are very large. They're, I think 2 of them are about 11,000 square feet, and one is 8,800, I want to say. And did you have that plan that I loaned you, the 11.5 by 17? I got this one. I'm interested in answering any questions that you have.
Commissioners, do you have any questions of the
Yes, sir.
applicant?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Beck?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any plans to widen Manor Road specifically?
None that I'm aware of.
Okay. It's a very narrow road. That's why I'm asking.
Are you speaking of the pavement or the right-of-way?
The pavement.
I see. It's a 50-foot right-of-way.
Okay. It doesn't show any curbs or gutters on the plat, and the one that I'm referring to is the one that's labeled grading, drainage, and utilities. Are there any plans to install curb and gutters?
No, ma'am.
Okay. One more question. What is the sales price for the 4 duplexes?
We expect approximately $300,000 per unit for a total of $600,000 per lot.
Okay. I believe that's all I have.
Commissioners, any additional questions? Mr. Hines?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Beck and applicant, thank you for coming before us today. So my concern is going to, several of them, but one of my concerns is, has there been any communication at all with the school board, school superintendent? I believe they would be zoned for Simonsdale Elementary School. And that school, according to multiple year-end reports, is reporting that they are overpopulation as it stands right now. Has there been any discussion at all with the school superintendent about impacts or any sort of feedback regarding that?
No, sir.
Okay. Another question about, I guess, the community at large. Has there been any communication at all with the civic leagues or anything of that nature regarding the intent, maybe kind of showing the project to civic league presidents or anything of that nature? Has been any discussion at all with that, or has this kind of just gone through the normal process through City Hall and then now here?
No, we haven't had any communications with the civic leagues.
Okay. I think I'll yield it over to anybody else who might have some follow-up questions. I might come back for another one or two.
No one has any further. Mr. Hines, please continue.
Okay. Has there been any thought or consideration about the size? Because I'm looking at this, and that's kind of a difficult thing for myself to read, who's built a number of things in my life. You know, naturally, part of this, I think, the concern that we have is how well this fits in with the community as a whole, yard sizes, things of that nature that just, go into the quality of life. Is there any sort of, standard that you're going to have in terms of that? And then the second question also, you just threw out there that they're going to $300,000 for a duplex in a neighborhood that I drove through pretty much the whole neighborhood, and I think I saw maybe none in that general area, and staff just told us that we had one. How do we get to that benchmarking is for a duplex in this neighborhood, I guess is the question I have.
That's two questions. I'm trying to remember the first one. It was
First
about-
question is about green space for each one of the locations. I did walk this entire area here, fitting 7 spots in. I know you said that it meets the standard, but it certainly looks like they would be slightly different to the standard that's the surrounding neighborhood.
Well, no, it's more than just meeting the standard. It's much less dense than is allowed. The requirement is 7,500 square feet per lot. A lot can house 2 dwelling units. I think the maximum density is 15 units per acre. Is that the right number? Yeah. And we're only proposing 6.7. It's not a very dense development at all. It's much lower than the limits. Your second question, I'm sorry.
I wasn't really speaking towards the limits. I was actually speaking to the character that it currently exists there. But secondly, my more important question is you just talked about expecting to get $300,000 for a duplex.
No, sir. Per unit.
Per unit.
Yes.
So you're talking $150,000 basically on each side. Is that what
No,
you're saying?
sir.
So so 600,000 for each one.
600,000 per building. Per
So the
lot.
question is how did you benchmark that number to get to that is what I'm asking, because there's no duplexes that.
I'm going to let my
in that area,
builder.
if you don't mind.
talk
That's
to you
what I'm
about the
asking.
Prices of
Well, the way we came up with that figure is we had our real estate agent do a comparative market analysis, which proved that anything 1,600 square foot and up could possibly sell for that number. So conservatively, I would say that they will sell for $300,000 a piece.
So you're basing it off of square footage, not comps in the area?
No, square footage of comps of
Right, I'm talking about
comparable properties in the area.
Right,
yes.
but not duplexes is basically what I'm saying. Because there's really nothing in the general neighborhood, is that what?
Well, generally speaking, duplexes or single family, they tend to sell for the same thing. It's just it's mainly based on features within the property as well as overall square footage. And to Joe's point, like even though we're proposing these additional 4 duplexes, each one of these are well over the 7,500 square foot limit. Honestly, I haven't done the comparison of what the neighborhood demographic it looks like as far as square footage of each home out there, but riding through there, I would venture to say they might be approximately 5,000 square feet, which is we're pretty much comparable to that, or we might have a little bit more square feet per unit based on that.
Thank you for answering that question.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions?
I have one more, please, and this has to do with the single-family homes. What are you pricing the single-family homes at?
They're going to be anywhere.
Could you speak into the mic, sir?
I'm sorry. They're going to be anywhere from 400 to 450,000 for each one of those.
Thank you.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions?
I do want to point out that the units within the two-family dwellings will be sold as individual condominium units.
Come on,
Sorry, Mr.
no problem.
I'm sorry, you said they're going to be condominiums?
They're going to be sold as condominium units. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions? Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-22-17. I do have several speakers. As I call your name, come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have 5 minutes. The first speaker is Bill Watts, followed by Gary Bunting.
Before you start the clock on me, I want to apologize in advance for reading this so fast to get through the time limit. And also, I just been through the curve. In the presentation, these are duplexes, and now he's saying they're condominiums. So I'm going what I originally wrote because it's true. Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and members. My name is Bill Watts. I'm president of the Park Manor Civic League. Park Manor is a racially diverse, working-class neighborhood. I am here on behalf of the Civic League and the residents of Park Manor to ask you to deny this application because it does not conform with the neighborhood. I'm a lifelong resident of Portsmouth. I am the second generation of the 4 generations that live in Park Manor. I have lived there at Park Manor for 65 years. My parents moved to Park Manor. Where I grew up, my father worked in the shipyard. My mother taught school for the 45 years in the Portsmouth school system, retiring as assistant principal from Douglas Park Elementary. After high school, I graduated. I joined the Army and serving a year in Vietnam. After discharge, the Army, I enrolled in Norfolk State College and then I was employed by the Norfolk Southern Corporation. I purchased this house I presently live in. My son lives in Park Manor with my 2 grandsons who are growing up in Park Manor. According to a survey I pulled off the internet, 91% of Park Manor is dog-friendly, 90% of the yards are well-kept, 80% are quiet, 71% have the holiday spirit, and 61% of the residents feel safe to walk at night. That's a great neighborhood, especially in these times. The reasons we are such a great place to live is the majority of the residents own the property they live in. That's why they take care of their houses and their yards. They look out after their neighbors, whom they have established relationships with over many years. Most rental property residents do not have time to build relationships in a 1-year lease. I own rental property for 30 years. I would always screen my tenants. Over these years, one tenant burned my property nearly to the ground. I had to rebuild it. In other instances, my neighborhood neighbors would call me and tell me that the police were there. I needed to do something. More often than not, they did not cut the grass. Sometimes the trash cans were left out for 4 days at a time. They would not pick the trash up in the yard. Cigarette packs, straws, trash in general fell out of the car, never picked it up. I had a visit from the FBI because one of my tenants was involved in a check fraud scheme that took place on that property. When I was being what is being proposed here is 8 units. This property, all 8 will be worse than what I experienced. The Portsmouth Fire Department is understaffed. We are over 100 officers short in our police department. We have the distinction of being the most violent, dangerous city in the Commonwealth. Trash pickup in Park Manor is seldomly picked up on trash day. I called the waste management and asked why the trash was never picked up on trash day. The lady said, "We are overwhelmed. They don't have the personnel or trash trucks to handle the volume." She added, "The employees are doing the best they can," and I'm sure they are doing it. In the past, I have asked city council members, why would we vote for bad projects that's similar to this one? And the answer would always be, Portsmouth needs the money. Now we have a casino that's going to generate a lot of money for Portsmouth. We do not have to approve bad planning such as this for the sake of money. I'm sure, as always, that the contractors of the city have obtained a study supporting their project, no matter who paid for it or how bad the idea is. The only person who will gain from this project with the contractors that would be putting the money in their pockets. Just up the road from me, there are 7 single-family homes that have been built recently. The houses are well maintained and the yards are groomed. The houses are decorated for seasonal holidays. The reason they look so nice is because the people who live there own the houses. I will call your attention to the map, the application. All 4 sides of the map are marked UR, and then it shows that the surrounding houses are single-family dwellings. Every residential appraisal has a question: does this property conform to the neighborhood? The proposed 4-unit, 2-family construction does not conform because there is virtually no other 2 or 4 family housing in Park Manor. This question is including in the appeal because appraisal because I have had proven neighborhoods with similar conformity homes are more suitable than those that have hodgepodge of various structures. In a stable, conforming neighborhood, owners occupy results as better care homes and more long-term residents. When the box on the appraisal is marked no, it always raises red flags to the agenda, all lenders and loaners and underwriters, because it is considered a negative aspect of the neighborhood. I would ask each of the commissioners present, do you really want to approve a project that raises a red flag to the residents and to the real estate industry? It would be far better to build single-family conforming homes to lease lots. Please help my Park Manor, the neighborhood I was raised in and lived in today, and help our city by voting no. Thank you very much.
Mr. Watts, you were speedy, but we got it all. Thank you, sir.
I'm not sure, but I hope so. Thank you. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Gary Bunting.
Good afternoon. My name is Gary Bunting. I live at 416 K Road in Park Manor, several blocks down the street from this property. And I'm also the secretary of the Park Manor Civic League. As you commissioners know, duplexes are a conforming use in the UR zoning district. However, it is not a by right use. It requires a use permit. And the fact that it requires a use permit acknowledges the fact that it's not appropriate in every area that's zoned UR. It also, by requiring a use permit, it gives you all as commissioners the authority and the responsibility to determine whether that's an appropriate use in that specific location. Park Manor is primarily a single-family, owner-occupied neighborhood with homes on larger lots. Typically, the lots are a quarter acre or larger. And as a matter of fact, there's one lot that adjoins this property that's 6/10 of an acre. So it's typically larger lots, much larger than the zoning requires. The proposed development is multifamily, smaller lots, and like Mr. Watts, I was thrown a curveball because I put in here, by definition, it would be at least partly rental property, because I did not realize the units were going to be sold off separately as condominiums, which I didn't see. I read over your whole packet and I didn't see it anywhere. I'm going to read from the information packet that was online that you were given from staff. This is on page 2, under findings of fact, and it's section D, comprehensive plan. It says, the future use map of the Build One Portsmouth comprehensive plan designates 330 Park Manor Road as appropriate for low to mid-density single-family development. I'm going to repeat that just so everybody hears. The Build One Portsmouth comprehensive plan designates 330 Park Manor Road as appropriate for low to mid-density single-family development. To me, that says everything that needs to be said in terms of whether this is an appropriate use of this particular property. But I'm going to move on and go into a couple of other things. I think drainage is an issue. The drainage at the corner of Park Manor and Lamper Road, which is right in front of this property, is a constant issue as it is, to the point where water stands there for several days after a moderate rain, and it causes a traffic issue because cars don't want to go to the edges where the water's deeper. One will wait for another so they can go through the middle. I understand that there's going to be drainage to the pond in the back, but drainage from the roofs and the driveways is bound to drain off to the front and cause that to be a worse problem unless there's some mitigation of what's already there. The other situation I wanted to talk about was the parking. Park Manor is a relatively narrow road. Anytime there's a car parked along the road, if 2 cars are meeting and there's a parked car, you have to wait for that other car to come by before you can get past the parked car. It's also a relatively busy street because it's the access to the back of the neighborhood. It's not just a little side street that doesn't have much traffic. It's my understanding from looking at the plat and also...
Mr. Bunning, you have 1 minute.
Okay. Okay, I'll try to make this quick. There's 2 parking spaces per unit. However, they're end to end. So if you have 2 people living there with 2 cars, they're going to be reluctant to park in the front because they're going to get blocked in. So what's going to happen? They're going to park on the street. And with the narrow street, they're not going to widen it here apparently. That's going to cause traffic concerns. As I mentioned earlier, the requirement for a use permit gives you the responsibility and authority to determine whether this is appropriate. I think if you look at all the facts, you'll realize that it's not appropriate. I'd ask that you vote against this use permit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Robert McMillan.
Good afternoon, and I appreciate you listening to me.
Sure, good afternoon.
This is an excerpt from page 2, paragraph D on the comprehensive plan. Recommendations for early suburban neighborhoods include encouraging the retention of natural features and mature native plants. It is to maintain architectural scale and character, site design setbacks, and encouraging new housing to incorporate design features that are energy efficient, sustainable, and protect against flooding. Does this plan retain mature native plants, maintain the architectural scale and the character of Park Manor, and does it prevent flooding? The proposal before you is a typical developer whose only goal is to squeeze every square foot of structure within a lot to maximize profit. They do so without consideration to aesthetics, of a community or the impact it creates. This is one of those plans. The vast majority of structures around this proposal and within Park Manor are between 1,100 and 1,900 square feet. The houses are 1,100 to 1,900 square feet. And they're single affordable family homes on nicely sized lots. These are 3,700 square foot duplexes. 3,700 square foot two-story duplexes, where most of the homes are one story. So you have huge two-story structures in close proximity to each other, dwarfing the surrounding neighborhood homes. The 8 driveways and a future 9th, plus a road or a driveway going to another home on a road frontage of 390 feet. Does that maintain the character of Park Manor? I don't think it does. And it really becomes a scene of congestion. As Gary mentioned, if somebody parks in the street, Park Manor Road becomes a one-lane road. And it happens every time somebody parks on the street. I highly recommend the board to reject this proposal by considering the character of Park Manor as a single-family home neighborhood. Another thing I wanted to mention was the swales to go around the duplexes that end up in a drainage field in the back of the property, I believe, go to a collection area for debris that drains into the drainage system that ends up in the Elizabeth River, if I'm not mistaken. If that occurs, the oyster restoration projects that have occurred at City Park and off the piers of the waterfront homes, which is part of the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, would be impacted. And recently I've seen red coral growing in the oyster beds in the western branch of the Elizabeth River. This stormwater runoff carries sediments once it drains into the mud flats, and the mud flats bury the oysters that are currently on the shoreline. So I highly recommend that this project be disapproved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Jeff Reed, followed by Deanna Stanton.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Reed. I live at 301 Park Manor Road, which is directly across the street from this lot. I'm opposed to the building of the 4 duplexes at 330 Park Manor Road. I respectfully request keeping the lot used for single-family homes with low to medium density. I would like to mention that I have brought with me a petition with the signatures of over 200 Park Manor residents who oppose UP 22-17. You should have received a copy of that. I also understand you've received many emails opposing this use permit. My reasons for opposing the 22-17 are compatibility. I'm asking you to only allow new construction that maintains compatibility between the new construction and existing homes in Park Manor, which are mostly one-story, single-family, ranch-style, owner-occupied homes built between the 1940s and 1990s. Compatibility has a direct impact on the neighborhood. Building 4 duplexes in the middle of single-family homes can cause our current homes to become less desirable to people seeking a quiet, single-family style neighborhood. Aesthetics. Keeping with single-family homes ensures consistency with surrounding Park Manor homes, keeping its visual appeal and desirability that help me and other homeowners make our decisions to buy our homes and live in Park Manor. There's a strain on existing and or new infrastructure. The 300 block of Park Manor already has flood and drainage problems when it rains, requiring many homeowners to have to install drainage systems on their property. Building 4 duplexes can cause even more issues than we have now. My wife and I heard from a resident on Patner where the city allowed 6 two-story homes to be built, or may have been 7, to be built on a small piece of property. The residents there have not been happy, describing the whole process as a nightmare, causing ongoing water, plumbing, and parking issues. We do not want the same. Parking. The 300 block of Park Manor Road is only 21.5 feet wide in front of my house, not wide enough to accommodate street parking. Current contractors and visitors must park in the road, causing a potential hazard, or they must park in our front lawns to avoid blocking the road. This is a huge concern, but with each additional home built with an average of 2 to 3 vehicles per home, adds on average 22 to 23 more vehicles permanently vying for a place to park. These vehicles will have to park on the street, blocking one side of the street or using our front lawns, and this is not acceptable. In addition, it's hazardous, as emergency vehicles that need to use that road at any time could find trouble trying to get through there when the road is blocked one way or the other. Noise and privacy. In addition of 4 duplexes or 8 homes in such a small area will create a negative effect, causing a lot of extra noise and intrude on the privacy of the surrounding neighbors. Resale and value of surrounding homes. Duplexes cannot be used to assess value on single-family homes and therefore do not increase value to the neighborhood as new construction single-family homes would. They will, however, create potential rental properties, making the surrounding homes less desirable. Duplexes are known to attract investors that turn the homes into rental properties. 8 potential rentals located in one small space can have a huge effect on the value of surrounding homes and all of Park Manor. Because of these reasons, I'm asking you that you do not approve UP 2217 and stay with the current land use only, allowing for single-family homes with low to medium density to be built on the lot at 330 Park Manor Road. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Deanna Stanton, followed by Jim Stanton.
Good afternoon. My name is Deanna Stanton, and I reside at 101 Poplar Lane. I'm going to just address really quick Robert McMillian, who came up a few minutes ago, talking about the aesthetics of what we have in our neighborhood. I just want to remind the Planning Commission, it was approximately about 4 years ago. I sat on approximately 3 acres in Park Manor, and we applied for a garage that was approximately 30 by 40, and we were denied, saying that it was bigger than most houses in the neighborhood. But I'm coming to you as a mother, as a grandmother. I'm going to let them handle all the other logistics. I see the safety concerns. When you come into Park Manor is almost like a little inlet where we have water surrounding us. So there's one way in, one way out, unless you take one side road. That one road is right in front of the property, and it has a stop sign. People are constantly running that stop sign. I no longer walk on Park Manor Road. I do not allow my grandchildren to walk on Park Manor Road. We've had a person hit on Park Manor Road and end up in the hospital because the road is very narrow, and once it's trash day, and you have a flood, and I mean, it's just like a perfect storm. The road would need to be widened, sidewalks placed in, just for the safety of our children. And then the other aspect is that road has a lot of children. We already have a lot on there, and they all play in the middle of the road. So I'm asking, where are these children? That hopefully that we have families that move in, because I love Portsmouth and I love to see us grow. Where are they going to play? There's nowhere for them to play other than in the street on the busy Park Manor Road that is already busy, and the drivers, of course, speeding down the road. So my issue is with the safety, and so I just respectfully ask that you would also oppose this.
Thank you, Ms. Stanton. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Jim Stanton, followed by Russell Bailey.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I wanted to come talk to you. My name is Jim Stanton. We're at 101 Poplar Lane. I'm a contractor, and some of the stuff that's going on here, the size of the lot, for one, we're including the retention area. I mean, like my wife said, I don't know where the kids are going to play unless they play in the retention pond, which I don't think that's a good idea to do. The other issues I have is, for one, that we bought in this place about 15 years ago into Park Manor, and we didn't buy because there was duplexes or townhouses or anything else in the area. There is one section, Sandy Point, but it's off to itself, and it actually has its own little private road that goes to it that nobody passes by or anything else, and it's a very nice neighborhood. This, with the safety issues on the street, we're adjacent to a street already that has been widened with curb and gutter. Now we're putting pipe in and extending the sidewalk into the street of the road adjacent to it. In other words, the curb and gutter is further back than the sidewalk. If you want to drive down the road and put one wheel in the curb and gutter, you will go on the sidewalk. Some other issues that I have with this is stormwater runoff. We've created at least 3,700 square feet of stormwater runoff at each building, plus the driveways, plus the sidewalks, and it's all coming back to the street. It takes a couple of days for the water to drain out of there now, much less it's still draining to the city, to the river. I don't know what impact studies have been done yet for the impact on the river for more stormwater runoff. But I'm assure you, it doesn't have very far to go to get to the river. The complex that's there right now, there's so many buildings in one small area. I mean, it looks like an apartment complex. It looks like something that you would see, in something that's a high residential area, to where buildings are set in all different kind of angles and situations so we can get as much as we can in one area. That's not the way this neighborhood is built. Also in this street here too, creating more safety issues, there's a bus stop that sits right in the intersection of that street and Park Manor. A lot of kids come in and out of there. This is a kid's neighborhood. It's a family neighborhood, and it's not something that I would like to see in the rentals. So I'll oppose this UP 2217. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Russell Bailey, followed by Keith Freeman. They have them.
Good evening, Commissioner.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Vice Chairman. My name is Russell Bailey.
Sir, okay, thank you.
I reside at 404 Park Manor Road. I come here today to seek assistance in preserving and maintaining the characteristics of our established neighborhoods. Park Manor was established in the mid-1950s. It is bordered to the north and west by the Elizabeth River. To the east is Tidal Marsh City Park and the City Park Cemetery. To our southeast is South Park Manor neighborhood. To our southwest is Mimosa Cove, both established in the mid-1950s. Page 2 of the demonstration that I have handed out to you shows that the use permit at 330 Park Manor is surrounded by the north, south, east, and west of predominantly single-family homes. Page 3 and page 4 demonstrates the lots, of which Park Manor consists of 407 lots, 394 or 96% are single-family dwellings. South Park Manor consists of 159 lots, of which 148 or 93% are single-family dwellings. Mimosa Cove is a smaller neighborhood of 51 lots, but 48 or 94% are single-family dwellings. Commissioner Hines, you mentioned a while ago about the density and the median lot sizes are two different discussions. I appreciate you coming out, looking and doing a site visit. Park Manor has approximately about a quarter of an acre on a median lot size. South Park Manor right at a third, and Mimosa Cove just right under a third. In summary, there are 617 lots in the combined neighborhoods and only one multifamily unit. The last page, ladies and gentlemen, will show a sign that stands today that is proposed with 5 units. The request before you today more than doubles that to 11 units. In closing, I ask for your consideration in preserving the characteristics of our established neighborhoods. Change happens, but the reason for change must be considered. The requests before you today are one of greed and for profits, with little regard to the preservation and existing of our established neighborhood. I thank you for your time and your efforts.
Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Keith Freeman, followed by Robin Brown.
Good afternoon. Keith Freeman. I live at 305 Park Manor Road.
Sir, could you speak into the mic for me, please? Thank you, sir.
I'm Keith Freeman. I live at 305 Park Manor Road. I oppose 2217. The streets right in front of our house, if we have 2 people parking on the street, you cannot get a third car through. And that's with parking in the ditch on both sides of the street. It does not meet the rest of the neighborhood. As far as duplexes or condos or whatever, I just can't see it. If I lived in Bobby Jones Drive, that area, Crystal Lake Drive, nobody would want to see duplexes go up right in front of their house. And especially an area like Park Manor and other neighborhoods that, have single-family homes. So I just want to oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker, Robin Brown. Okay. No problem. I also have Deshane Purchase, Joe Beck, and Kareem Purchase are the applicants. So, y'all already spoken. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-22-17. If there is anyone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Nicole LaFond. I live at 303 Thelmar. I'm so sorry, this person, okay, so this is our first place that we've ever bought. It's gonna be the last place we ever buy. When we walk up and down Park Manor Road, already it's busy enough. I have a 7-year-old son. We moved in here when he was 5 years old. And it has been an absolute delight to live in this neighborhood. We walk around, we feel so loved in our neighborhood, and our neighborhood is such a community. And we sit at the bus stop at Gladstone and Thelmar, right there. We will be right across the street from this development. And not only through the process of building all of this on that such a narrow road and all of the traffic that is gonna come of this, I fear to be able to let my kid stand by himself at that bus stop next year. I was looking forward to being able to let him have that little bit of independence. But I don't know how that's gonna go now with such a development right there. We're all for building up our neighborhood, but I agree with everybody here that has spoken that we need to keep it to a single-family dwelling to keep the character and the wonderfulness and the wonder of our neighborhood. I thank you guys so much for hearing all of us and listening to everybody speak, and I really hope you guys are going to take our neighborhood into consideration, other than this gentleman who probably just ran out of money and wants to make more money off of our neighborhood. I don't know if that's something I could say or not, but thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Secretary?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone else here who did not get an opportunity to register that would like to address this application? You have 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Commissioners, we are now in need of a motion for UP-22-17.
I'd like to make a motion to deny UP 22-17.
We have
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary.
Mr. Chairman, may I have a moment, if I
Sure.
could? After hearing everybody speak, actually, I think this should be taken as a positive for this developer, because there is such a community here that who wouldn't want to build some family homes here in this neighborhood. I think it would be great for the developer to work hand in hand with these neighborhoods, because what you have here is a very tight-knit group that came out and spoke very loudly about their desire. I think that there would be an opportunity possibly for development, but I will be supporting the neighborhood today. But I would also love to support a developer that would like to develop this area. So I would encourage you guys to have some additional dialogue there, because I think there is still opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Commissioners, we have a motion on the table and a second to deny UP 22-07. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to deny UP-22-17. Just for a point of clarity, a yes vote is you agree with the denial, and a no vote is you disagree. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Thaxton?
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman?
Yes.
Commissioner Hines?
Yes.
This item is denied by a vote of 4-0.
Madam Secretary, I believe we have the nomination, the election. We have had the nomination. We need to have the election of officers.
Yes, sir.
For the coming year.
Yes, sir. Our election of officers for the Planning Commission for the 2023 year is our vice chairman, and our nomination is Commissioner, one moment. It's Commissioner Sherry Thaxton. We need a
Did you say that? You didn't say it. You said vice chair.
vice chair.
It's Donna.
Oh, Donna Coleman.
Vice Chair, Ms. Coleman.
Pardon me. The vice chair is Donna Coleman. We need a, well, we've already nominated, so we need to vote.
I move that we accept the nomination of Ms. Sherry Thaxton for chairman and Ms. Donna Coleman for our vice chair for the upcoming year.
We were doing it separately.
Well, we were doing it separate,
One at a
Mr.
time.
Hines. Just hold on just a moment. So we have a nomination for Ms. Coleman to be vice chairman of the Planning Commission for 2023.
Correct.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Yeah.
All opposed?
Sherry, Donna Coleman is our vice president for our 2023.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Our nomination for our chairman for the Planning Commission is Sherry Thaxton.
We have the nomination of Ms. Thaxton to be chairman of the Planning Commission for the year 2023. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our new chairman for the 2023 is Sherry Thaxton.
I believe we have on the agenda the approval of the Planning Commission's calendar for the year 2023.
Yes,
Madam
sir.
Secretary?
Yes, sir. You already have it.
Commissioners, are there any questions or any discussion of the calendar for 2023?
No, sir. I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2023 Planning Commission calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Madam Secretary, I believe that concludes our agenda for today. Is that correct?
No, sir. We have one
we
additional
do?
item that we have on our agenda, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Baldwin?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Jackson. As I think the members of the Planning Commission are aware, and perhaps maybe not the citizens in the room today, today is Chairman Williams' last meeting with the Planning Commission. He has served his 2 full terms, and I will say on behalf of the Planning Department staff, all city staff, and I'll be a little bit larger on behalf of the citizens of the community. I'd like to thank you for your service, all the time and efforts, and the hard work you've done representing the Planning Commission and all the meetings. And we will certainly miss you every month. And if we don't see you back here again, which we would like to at some point, but if we don't, I'd like to give you the best wishes for retiring from the Planning Commission to go on with all those other things you've already retired from. And thank you so much for your service.
Mr. Baldwin, you're very kind. Let me thank first of all, let me thank Ms. Jackson, who does a phenomenal job for the 4 years that I've been chairman, who kept me straight when I was going awry. Let me thank the commissioners that I've had the opportunity to serve with. And Mr. Baldwin, let me take... Let me just hand this to you. Sure. Let me just take the opportunity to thank the entire Planning Commission, you and your staff, for the outstanding work that you have done. One of the things that has been absolutely critical to this entire process is the work that you have done with the Planning Commission staff in bringing ethics and integrity to our performance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We certainly appreciate it. And again, we're going to miss you as you move off from the Planning Commission.
Now, Madam Secretary, I believe that concludes our agenda for today.
Yes, sir, that does.
Mr. Baldwin, are there any additional items that you have?
That's all we have today, Mr. Chairman.
There being none, meeting is adjourned.